I'm working on the Argosy today, and as I'm working on it, as you can see, I'm getting ready to remove the rivets all along through here. I've drilled out the heads of the rivets, and now we're going to drill out the center part of the rivets, trying to be very careful not to waller out the hole too much. So I'm going to replace this window as well as the other one so that they will match. So anyway, to drill these out, use a 5/32 drill bit. If you're really good with a drill, you can just go directly to the rivet and get it right in the center. But if you're a little unsure about that, just get you a spring-loaded punch. Punch that thing right in the center of the rivet, and then that'll give you a hole that you can just a little tiny start for your drill bit. I'm just going to demonstrate a couple of these. I've got this one, and it's pretty well in the center where the rivet is, just a little bit, and you see there the rivet popped through on its own after it got far enough. After a while, we'll come back and we'll take a picture of all this done so that you can see it completed. We're getting ready to remove this window, but one of the things we have to do before we remove the window is someone has put a bead of caulk all the way around this window on the inside, and so I need to cut that bead of caulk so that the window will come out more easily. Anyway, here we go. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to start over here on the edge, cut all the way around, just cut a bead or cut a line right through it so that it'll easily come out. They have used really high quality caulk here at some point, although I don't think this was from the Airstream company. I think this was something someone added later, maybe in hopes of keeping leaks out. And as you can see, it comes out like this. Woo, pretty. Anyway, we'll clean that up later. Now we're getting ready to remove the wing window, the panoramic wing window in our Argosy camper. Of course, for those of you who haven't been following for very long, this camper does have a name. His name is Artie, from Artemis from Wild Wild West, the old 1960s sci-fi western television series. We always liked Artemis. He was one of our favorite characters because Artemis, it seemed as though he could go anywhere and do anything, and we're really hoping that when Artie is finished fixing up, he'll be able to go anywhere and do anything.
Do I need to come over there?
Not yet. Here in just a moment, my lovely assistant Tammy is going to be helping out. Now on the back side of these window frames, there's a double stick, there's a sort of a double stick tape that is present that needs to be undone for the window to come out. You can probably hear it popping and cracking as I gently do that, and that's because we're removing the double stick tape. Now at this point I'm going to put my fingers back behind. You might be able to see where the two pieces join together here on the side. I don't know if that's coming through in the video, but there are two pieces, trim pieces, that join together here on the side. And I'm going to put my fingers back behind those and just give a little bit of a nudge.
I really can't watch.
Alright, Tammy, if you would, come over here and just hold this right here on this corner. And just right there. There we go. Because we don't want that to come undone. I'm trying not to block the view of our viewers, but I'm doing the best I can. Alright. Now we got to work it loose up here.
Do you need your chair?
No, I'll be okay. I'm not tall, but I think I'm tall enough.
Ah! We did it!
Yes, we did it. Now, here is the wing window out. We're going to have to do some cleaning up, get things ready for when we put in the new window, which will not be today. That'll be sometime later. For right now, we have a beautiful day. So we're going to try to do some other things, but this will get us for today. Thanks for watching. You get to see an up-close view of where I've drilled out the holes, and You can see I didn't get all of them just perfectly. Some of them will have a little piece of the rivet in. You can also see right here in the video this double stick tape that was used to temporarily hold the window in place while they riveted it in at the company. And so you can tell that that was still in place. For the most part, the window frame had a pretty decent seal, but over time those things do break down, and so it did need to be replaced. We want to make sure that we have a airtight, watertight camper when we take it on the road. Alright, now we're removing this screw. There's one on either end of this, and I'll bring this around so that you can see. But right here in this joint, there's a friction pin that joins these two together, which the friction pin will probably come out on its own, but if it doesn't, we'll give it a little bit of a nudge. But first we're going to remove this screw. The one on the underside is very rusted, and I'm hoping that it doesn't give us too much trouble. On the broken window frame, or on the broken window, the frame of the broken window, I guess I should say, one of the screws was so badly rusted that as we tried to take it out, it broke because it was rust welded into place. So we're going to have to cut that one out and later replace it with another screw. But if you can, it's always a good idea if you can replace these screws with something maybe a little bit more resistant to rust at later time. Okay, now as you can tell, the screw on this end is very rusted. As a matter of fact, it's not only rusted, but it's easily stripped. I've already stripped it. But what I have done is I've sprayed a little bit of liquid wrench down in here to hopefully help it ease up just a little bit. On the other window frame, the screw had to cut a slot in it so that we could be able to back it out, and unfortunately, even after backing it out, it managed to break in the process. So we're going to try this again, and this time we're also going to cut a slot. If it ends up breaking, that'll just add a little extra work to it, but it won't kill us, and we'll end up having to cut the screw out altogether. But anyway, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a Dremel, and I know my Dremel bit is very small right now. It's just a little cutting bit, and I'm going to cut it across one of the places where the Phillips head screw is. So we're going to cut it across to make a slot. Now that we have a slot made, we can use a regular screwdriver or a slot head screwdriver, and of course I carry with me my handy dandy different bits with my handy dandy Craftsman screwdriver. Craftsman tools, if it happens to break, a hand tool, you can take it back to the store and get a replacement. Now you have to put a great deal of force down on this, and it may still not work. And it did not work. It's so old that it just broke, and it has sheared the head right off of it. So we're just going to go ahead and remove the head. Now as we prepare to take this frame apart, separated from the window, in this area right here where my finger is pointing, there is a small friction pin. However, due to age and rust, this friction pin has just simply broken. This may have broken some time back, but nonetheless, it was barely hanging on by a thread. So what we'll do is later on, after we get this apart, we'll cut that friction pin out and then later replace it with a new one. Over here on the other side, where we had the screw that the head broke off, I have Dremeled that off, grinded it down, and also took a drill bit. I used a 5/32 drill bit, and I drilled down into it just a little bit, just enough to where it would separate. So now we've got this separated, and we can start taking the frame apart. And as you can see, the frame comes apart relatively easily at this point. I say that, and now it's going to be difficult. But here it goes. And we can separate the frame. Try to be very careful as you do this to not damage the window. Because obviously, as we all know, those of us who deal with Airstreams and Argosys and vintage campers of all kinds, really, they don't make the parts anymore. So try to be very careful with it. And as I try to be very careful here, I'm going to use one piece to help act as a pry for the other piece. There we go. And of course, remember that this has been in place for 41 years. Some of you who are working on another camper that may be older, and particularly if it's built out of materials other than aluminum, as some of the very old ones were, you may want to be very careful to try to keep these things together. We'll come back after a while and show you the completely disassembled window. Now that we have the window completely disassembled, you'll notice that I have the frame pieces around, and here's the window glass. They no longer make the window glass in clear anymore. You can still get the same window glass, but it's only in tinted. They still use this same window, or the window shape, in the modern Airstream. So you can still purchase this from several different vendors and possibly even from Airstream themselves. But it is pricey, so I do want to warn you up ahead of time. You're probably looking at anywhere from $700 to $900 to replace this window. This is the window glazing, plastic window glazing. I would assume this will come with the new kit when you replace the window, but if it doesn't, you may be able to find something like that online. I'm going to keep my eyes out and look for something like that. When I find it, I'll post it online to let you know where to find this. So I'm going to go ahead and toss this out of the way because I'm not keeping it, and so that stuff's gone. We'll pick it up later. But one of the things that I like to do when I disassemble something, aside from taking pictures and documenting, which we're doing here, is I like to label my pieces. Now this particular window came off of the street side of the camper. The street side is what we might call the driver side of the car. It's the side that you don't typically go in and out of. So I'm going to mark everything, all these pieces, with an SS for street side. And since I haven't cleaned these up yet, I'll just show here SS, and I'll mark and the lower and upper will be pretty easily distinguished. But I will mark those as street side. And that way, later on, our holes will line up just as they should. And this window will, in the very near future, go up for sale, since I am replacing this with a different window. Thank you for watching today, and as we disassemble Artie, the Argosy, and hope you'll join us again very soon. Just keep up to date on my blog, which is Argosy 24.